been a very interesting business and markets week across Frontier Africa. Let's bring the markets to a close for the fifth and final trading day. It's Friday, the 28th of June. But take a look back, as always, into Thursday's trading day. Markets were broadly positive, with the exception of the Egyptian market, down about 2%, taking its cue from the rest of the Middle Eastern markets, where the Israel and Iran conflict is escalating. There's no end in sight, although there are talks about some diplomatic moves being made after U.S. President Donald Trump says he's going to have 2 weeks window to decide whether to jump into the Israel-Iran conflict with hits on Iran. So energy prices also are moving on the back of all of this. Gold prices down a little bit, despite its safe haven appeal. So they've got a bit of a conundrum. So folks are looking for gains across other emerging and frontier markets. Of course, that's where other markets in Africa come into play. The GSE fell slightly by less than 0.1%. The Nairobi market continued that rally that we saw since around Tuesday, ended Thursday by about roughly 20 basis points. Nigerian market also broadly positive. The banking sector clocked 3.3% yesterday, coming back very strongly on the back of $14.2 million total transactions for the entire market after the central bank further clarifies, and at least 5 or 6 banks have clarified their position as far as single obligor limits and meeting the capital requirements of the financial regulator, effectively ending 31st of March 2026. So UBA, Stanbic, First Holdco, Jitco, Zenith Bank shares climbed very strongly on Thursday, including a few names outside that, including Wando in the oil and gas. Then, of course, the consumer goods also rallied stronger. So let's just get out of there. The BRVM was 0.6% in the green. Let's get on to see the what's making the headlines as we start the week. The Brent oil price is down about $2 early Friday because President Trump says he's delaying his decision on the Iran conflict for another 2 weeks. It's a 2 weeks window just to allow some diplomatic efforts between Iran, Israel, and others. European Union also wading into the conflict, trying to secure a ceasefire if possible. East Africa's Development Bank, that's the EADB, says it's got about 2 billion or 5.2 billion shillings from the OPEC Fund for Development to boost regional development within the East African corridor. We say thank you very much for bringing something to the table. Kenya and Tunisia said they have a new deal to boost women-led small businesses between the two countries, while the Lacing Group in Kenya is looking to list about 44.8 billion shillings Talanta Stadium bond on the market. The other is to get the stadium upgraded, looking to wealthy investors to subscribe to that sports infrastructure offering on the market. And Rwanda has a new agri plan that is expected to attract about $335 million in private investment. Today, we see the end of that conference on agricultural investment in Rwanda. Rwanda is a landlocked economy in East Africa with a whole lot in coffee exports and a couple of other agro-allied products. Ethiopia is Africa's most expensive country to live in, and that's according to the latest data review, and it's ranked 53rd globally speaking. Let's say thank you to the region. Let's move to West Africa as we look into some of the biggest headlines. The big news for Nigeria was the latest 50 billion naira green bond, which opened on Monday. That was concluded on Wednesday. The Debt Management Office released a statement yesterday saying that bond offer was overbought by 91 billion. Total allotment is about 47.3 billion naira to the offers that met the subscription parameters set by the Debt Management Office. That's Nigeria's third tranche, bringing the country's total green bond offering to roughly 80 billion in local currency. Now, another big news in Nigeria's oil and gas sector as Green Energy International, a wholly indigenous Nigerian energy company, launched the country's first local onshore oil terminal. That's the first in 50 years for Africa's biggest oil producer. And Green Energy International is now exporting crude oil as cargoes from that particular onshore oil terminal. It's one big investment that the company spoke about at the 2024 African Energy Forum Summit in Cape Town, and now it's come to actuality. In tourism, and this is one big news for most of this week, South Africa, Cape Town, where the tourism summit is taking place, seeing many international brands unveiling their expansion footprints across Africa. Valor Hospitality says it's got 540 million rand hotel deals for Nigeria and Senegal. That was announced at the summit. Windham and Jill Wellness say they are launching Gambia's first internationally branded hotel and resort facility. Marriott International also says it's expanding across Africa over the next 2 years, rapidly in Nigeria, Cape Verde, into new markets such as Cote d'Ivoire, in Southern Africa, as well as North Africa, with Egypt and Morocco headlining that. Of course, it's going to be about 50 new properties that Marriott International is looking to set up. Now, in the meantime, Russia's miner, Norgold, is looking at investment opportunities in Senegal and Guinea-Bissau. Let's move on to Southern Africa. Gold is set for the first weekly decline in 3 weeks, despite the safe haven appeal, but that demand softened a little bit yesterday as investors begin to see the dollar moved a little bit slightly higher and sentiments begin to grow into risky assets as Europe and President Trump says that we're looking to see the end of hostilities between Israel and Iran. However, Israel and Iran continue to hit targets within both countries, even as we head into the weekend. Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa yesterday visited the central bank, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, to see for himself the size of the gold reserves that the country has supporting the ZiG currency. The IMF says the ZiG should become Zimbabwe's fiat currency instead of the US, or dual position with the US dollar. It's looking to further relationships. Now it looks like Zimbabwe has the firepower to support its new baby, the local currency, the ZiG. The SARB, the Reserve Bank in South Africa, has published the latest financial stability review report. You can read up the details of that. And Toyota in South Africa is suing for that deadly flood back in 2022, 2 years ago, when there was that flooding that impacted one of its major operation plants in South Africa. Now the damages is what the Toyota in South Africa says is suing for. In Namibia, the authorities are asking the Commonwealth to prioritize energy transition in trade and investment agenda for the country and for the entire African continent. And finally, Malawi's Centenary Bank and Piango, they say they have a deal on the table to fast-track fast cash transfers within the Southern African economy. Let's get on to the North African markets. Of course, yesterday you saw the Egyptian market down. It's been a little bit topsy-turvy for the biggest stock markets in the Northern Corridor, of course, with a whole lot of Middle East and other Arabian investors in the Egyptian market. Let's see how the market reopens on Sunday. When Cairo reopens as the first in that region. Middle East LPG, liquefied petroleum exports down 20% amid the rising freight costs in Iran, hammering around the Strait of Hormuz and tariff tensions that is on the table. July 9th is the effective date, according to President Trump. Keep that in mind. Qatar is looking at $3.5 billion tourism deal on Egypt's Mediterranean coast. That is further announcements that we're seeing when it comes to hospitality, tourism, and leisure across the African continent. And Morocco is looking to review free trade agreement with Turkey as the country's trade deficit rises. And the United States and Morocco said they have a new container security initiative agreement between the two countries. And finally, China's Zhongman Petroleum and Natural Gas Group has won first African gas exploration deal, and this time that is in Algeria. And those are your headlines as we go into the weekend. Whatever you're doing today, make sure it's profitable. Have a great weekend. See you back next week on Monday. Remember, it's all African Export-Import Bank annual meetings 2025 in Abuja, Nigeria. Nigeria is hosting the annual meetings for the whole of next week. And of course, that will see to the election of a new president to head the African Export-Import Bank. We'll hear more on that next week. We'll be live to you from Tuesday. Keep that in mind. Bye for now.